first panel discussion for the day, and the topic is Revolutionizing Global Capability Centers, the Digital Transformation Imperative. The panelists, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Venkateshan Ramasubramanian, VP and GM India, Zoom Info. With over 25 years of experience, he believes India GCCs are in the crux of breaking from previous paradigms of being a cost center or back-end office heaven to all companies looking at thought leadership in India to lead strategic initiatives and bring in solutions for the worldwide market. So let's welcome Mr. Venkateshan Ramasubramanian from Zoom Info. A very, very warm welcome to you, sir. The next panelist joining is Ms. Vidya Veeraraghavan, VP of AI Strategy and Business Planning, Standard Chartered. Vidya is an accomplished AI strategist who leverages Lean, Six Sigma, Agile, and human-centered design practices to create impactful AI solutions. Let's welcome Ms. Vidya to stage. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. Kaustubh Patkar, Senior Director, Firmware Engineering, Western Digital, is a visionary global leader with 19 years of experience in the storage industry, adept at seeding, nurturing, and building high-performance teams worldwide. A warm welcome to you. Mr. Shivi Mittal, Vice President and Country Manager, India, Mimecast, has 3 decades of experience in the IT industry. His passion lies in executing tasks with precision from start, making data-driven decisions, and fostering a culture. A warm welcome to you, sir. Mr. Tabish Anwar Sheikh, Country Head, Intellias. He has over 20 years of experience in various technical and leadership roles. He has served as an engineering catalyst for numerous top-tier companies and clients. To moderate this interesting panel discussion, I would like to invite the moderator, Mr. Romit Sen, Director of Product Management and India Site Leader, Black Hawk Network. With over 18 years of experience, Romit is a seasoned leader in expertise, product management, and is dedicated to delivering innovative and user-centric experiences that drives customer engagement and satisfaction. With that, over to Mr. Romit Sen, our moderator for this session.
We've got an interesting panel. They've already been introduced. The topic today is Revolutionizing Global Capability Centers, the Digital Transformation Imperative. Even in the last few years, the GCC landscape in India has changed a lot. The COVID-19 pandemic, the inflations, the geopolitical tensions, you could even say the Russia-Ukraine conflict essentially has exerted pressure on wages, encouraging global players to look forward to set up back offices to balance their cost model. But GCCs have evolved beyond just playing cost arbitrage to becoming true world-class seats for global product and engineering solutions. And those are some of the things that we're going to talk about today with our esteemed panel. My first question, and I'm going to look at my notes, I'm allowed to cheat. My first question is to Vidya. How are GCCs leveraging cloud technologies to enhance scalability and operational efficiency? If you can throw some light on what your experience has been.
Sure, Amit. Thank you. Thanks for having me in this panel today. I would start with 3 words. It's deliberate strategic planning. I'll explain. In a recent GCC conclave, Ms. Debanjan Ghosh of NASSCOM, the president of NASSCOM, she mentioned that India GCCs have become nerve centers for global business success. I agree with her because all of us are witnessing this. We have already shown leadership and pioneering in engineering and innovation. We are also showing a lot of potential in generative AI space as well. What happens is when you are going at a breakneck speed in innovating, bringing in data, making data work for you. Large language models are in, every organization wants to use that. So there is a lot of requirement in the large computing power.
Yeah.
And organizations are also careful, or should be if they are not already, about the cost optimization also. So when you want these things, I think the cloud migration has worked very well for most of the organizations. In fact, Gartner's report recently has also mentioned that more than 70% of the enterprises have already started using multi-public cloud services, because they don't want a vendor lock-in or increase in their cost or bound by a contract. So they want to use multiple cloud services providers. We do have a lot of them. We are witnessing that as well. So migrating to cloud, having your architectural tuned to the cloud services is going to be very beneficial, not only at the cost, but definitely on the scalability and the optimization of your efficiencies as well. So that's what we are witnessing, Roman.
Interesting. Whenever we talk about migration to the cloud, there are obvious challenges, right? There are early adopters in terms of migrating to cloud. There are followers in different types of companies. Of course, migrating to cloud itself is a massive project in itself. We want to talk a little bit about the challenges that GCC, specifically GCCs face, and this question can be extended to any company across the world, but specifically to GCCs, what are the challenges in migrating to cloud? And I'll ask Tabish to come in a little bit on that.
Hi, am I audible? Hello. Yeah, I think so. Like Vidya rightly suggested that migration to the cloud is a multi-dimensional activity and it has its own challenges. I will just highlight a few challenges in terms of what we see in generally for GCCs. The first challenge which I see and which is very common is also by a report by Forrester. It stated that 90% of the users in the cloud do not feel secure about their data in the cloud. So data security and data privacy are really important parts that we need to take care of. And what really needs to happen is, so it's there, it's our part. A lot of people, when they migrate their data from their private clouds to the public cloud, right, they have this concern. So it's very important that they take care in terms of utilizing the shared responsibility model by the cloud service providers, ensuring that at an infrastructure level, the security things are taken care, and they are basically taking care at level of the applications and their services on top of that, right? So security in terms of encryption and security in terms of making data at rest in transit is always secured, is primary. The other problem that, or the other challenges they face is compliance. So I think so compliance is another one that is very common. So if you have data in the cloud and you're processing data in the cloud and you need to be regulated by maybe GDPR, HIPAA, or some other compliance things, then things become very challenging once you move data across multiple jurisdictions, right? And you have to take care of all those things. So to be aware of that, to know things like data sovereignty, where and what data you can take care of, where, and to understand the law, where your data will be placed, not only when you're storing it, but also when you're taking backups, right? The areas where they will be basically kept, having a good idea about them is really important. The other challenge I think so is cost management. So I know many of us or many companies have burned their hands when they migrated to the cloud, and a recent report by McKinsey says like around 49% of companies still have this as number one concern of moving to the cloud, right? The cost management, and how do you improve the cost management? So obviously observability is a very important tool that we have on the cloud that can help you to cut down the costs and to keep an eye of not over provisioning and underutilization of things. And one topic you already picked up is, vendor lock-in. So vendor lock-in is another concern that we normally see. But I think so, a lot of companies are moving to multi-cloud environments, to a hybrid type of deployments. So very, very important that, as a GCC, that you have agility at your core level of what you do, right? And bring agility at that level. So you are agile enough to basically, flexible enough to basically do deployments across multiple cloud vendors. But then the complexity that comes across is how do you have interoperability between these cloud providers, right, that you have. And last but not least, I think so, it's also a cultural shift. So once many of the GCCs, traditional GCCs are, quite regulated in what they do in their ways of working. And what we can see is that when you start moving things, so obviously moving things to the cloud requires a lot of upthinking, right? It's like it requires a lot of things, a lot of change which needs to be introduced across, right? Not only on the technology side of things, but also on the organization point of view in terms of processes and how you operate and do things. So there is obviously a cultural shift, and there's a little bit of pushback by people because they, whenever you're not certain about something, whenever you go into a new territory, you have this uncertainty with you. So you will always see this pushback coming across. But I think so, training and education is really important, and awareness of how to use and utilize those systems is really helpful in the long term. Yeah.
Interesting. Talking about training, upskilling, that kind of segues into the next piece of the conversation, which is the upskilling and reskilling that is necessary to sort of keep up with the latest tech, digital eras, Gen AI and stuff like that. My question to Venki is, how are GCCs addressing the needs for upskilling and reskilling their workforce to meet these sort of changing demands, of digital transformation?
Absolutely. Thank you, Zyoin, for providing us the opportunity. I think it's not something new. I think from cloud topic that we started with, the GCCs have evolved in this area, right? Then the cloud came, we have to train our folks on cloud technologies and so on, and then AI, ML, and now Gen AI. So I think most of the GCCs are, in a way, already adept in this. They are trained how to train the people, reskill and upskill. But what has changed more in the last year or so, I would say, is how fast the need for the reskilling or upskilling has become. As Sabha ma'am pointed out, even when the leaders are looking at recruiting or in a way moving to a Tier 2 city or anything, they are looking at people who are with experience. I think she pointed out like 60% of the leaders are looking for people to take with Gen AI or AI or experience and not look at even experienced folks.
Yeah.
So there are two parts to it. One is what type of areas that you want to skill people in terms of either it's using the tool, for example, non-engineering side, right? It could be HR, finance, and so all the GCCs are not just pure R&D divisions, as we all know. So one part of the system is obviously the engineering R&D side, who are developers, product managers, UI, UX, and DevOps, and pipeline, and so on, guys. They need a different type of upskilling or a reskilling when we come to a Gen AI and cloud. The second part is the backend teams, if you will, who need a different type of a reskilling, upskilling, because they have to start using a chatbot, for example, like HR folks, or an account receivables, or accounts payables, or any of the other teams that you can take on, also the customer service, right? I think what has happened in the last year or so, the customer experience or the go-to-market teams have seen a phenomenal shift where Gen AI technologies are common and in a way help them to reduce the touch points with the customers with chatbots and whatnot. And also, obviously with the ChatGPT, how do you respond to emails from customers? How do you converse with the customers with conversational intelligence? So those are the second type of challenges that we see. the folks that use the tools, how you train them to use them efficiently and get better, right? So there are two parts, as I stated. One is using and developing the tool, and the second is just using and efficiently becoming better at using the tool, right? So with that said, I think Sabha ma'am also pointed this out, right? The learning and development teams have a unique challenge now. How do you train your programs across these two parts of your audience? I think that's where we are getting better. I would say there's a lot more to do because the training programs are obviously, we have LinkedIn and many other platforms which provide how do you become a better developer, how do you learn a new Gen AI technologies, or you become a prompt engineer, all those things, right? The second part is also where I think it's mostly internal, what I see in GCCs, where there are internally designed programs to get your go-to-market teams, your finance, your HR teams to get better at using the tools. So I think these unique challenges are still there and we are getting evolved, but as the time goes on, more and more, I would say, tools and technologies will help us to get better in cross-training and training our teams, Romit.
Yeah, something that you said stuck a chord with me because one of the product lines that I lead at Blackhawk is customer services. And that's sort of fertile ground for trying out some of your first initial products on chatbot, machine learning driven solutions. The overall idea is to reduce the average handling time for the customers and reduce the effort on the agent side. And that's where we are seeing a lot of innovation in how we can create tools, chatbots that can interface between the agent and the end consumer and solve some of the simple problems, right? So yeah, I totally resonate with you on that. Do you want to talk about in general beyond the beyond the realm of the latest tech? Maybe talk a little bit about how continuous learning is kind of encouraged, handled. What kind of programs do you have, maybe specific to your organization or the organizations you've worked in the past? What works, what does not work? If you can kind of give us a little bit of teaser about that.
Absolutely. I think what GCCs have really figured this out in a model is, I would say, the cross-training, right? Because what I've seen in my previous experience and present too, the unique advantage that we have is all the teams under one roof, right, and one time zone, be it various product management, R&D folks, or customer service, go-to-market folks, sales, marketing professionals, all sitting under one roof. We don't see that in our counterparts, geographies, and other areas. So how do we bring this up as where there is more collaboration, innovation, but also where you see like, hey, I'm a data service engineer. I'm more of an SQL Python guy, but I want to get into a DevOps area, or I'm a go-to-market. I've been with a customer service for 3 years or 5 years. I want to become a product manager. So you see the opportunities that we are providing to our employees a lot, and that's where you keep them engaged and motivated too, where they see, I don't need to join another company or go outside. So how do you provide what we call as IJPs in many companies, right? Internal job movements and programs. How do you train people? How do you provide shadow programs? Hey, you are still in your CX or a CSM role, but shadow a PM for 6 months or 3 months and learn the trade, right? And then they get an excellent opportunity to become a PM when the opportunity arises. And that's one example. But I feel that there's a lot of such internal programs, as we spoke about, where there is an immense opportunity to shadow, to learn internal training programs, not just using the online or outside programs, but there are experts and SMEs in your company where you provide these opportunities, and these are conscious effort, Romit. It's not like you encourage them by, hey, we are, for example, in my company, we are targeting like 18% of our internal roles are filled by IJP programs, right? So in a way, you push that across your HR, your L&D, also the hiring managers, right? So that they are aware, hey, is there an internal candidate that I would prefer, first who are trained and who are learned the trade, and then they can be given the first preference from it. So I think that's where we are getting better and better.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
In fact, what I would also go one step beyond and say that make this as a metric. right? The line manager who is going to handle a team, he or she should have that as a metric, like how far your skills of the people that you are handling is growing. So if you have that as a metric itself, and you are measured against each of the other LMs in your peer level, then I think that would make more sense, and they'll probably be more enthusiastic to achieve that metric also. So that's a good point, because not only at the level of the unit, but also at the level where the hiring manager is doing this job, it will make more sense. Don't you think?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Learning and development, upskilling, I think they should be formally be part of performance measurement, and we should be able to quantify that, and that's how we'll make progress, because unless you don't measure, you don't make progress. Well said. That kind of, we want to go to the next topic that's been brewing in my mind is cyber security. And my question this time will be to Shivi, as well as Tabish. GCCs and how they are sort of strengthening their cybersecurity measures in this age of evolved threats, as we see on the operating system, on the network layer, on the devices. How are GCCs coping with it, and how are GCCs helping the sort of larger organizations to create sort of some of those standards and sort of solutions?
Sure. Thank you, Zyoin Group, for providing this opportunity. So from a cybersecurity perspective, see, not just GCCs, for any organization, first and foremost, what is important is to understand the organizational boundary and the attack vectors. So earlier, say decades back, it was just the endpoints, which is desktops and laptops, etc. Then came network, then email, followed by cloud infrastructure, and the latest addition is all these collaboration tools like Teams and Slack, etc. Attacks can happen through any of these points at which organization touches the external world. And then there is no single tool that can protect organizations from every single of these vectors. Some tools are better at endpoint security, others are better at email security. So organizations have to identify a group of security tools which can work together to provide a foolproof safety to their organization. Another very important emerging element is the human risk. So as per Forrester report in 2023, 74% of the security breaches had a human element in it, which means that at least one person in the organization made a mistake of clicking the wrong link or clicking the wrong button, and that is why the security breach happened. In 2024, we are expecting the same figure to go up to 90%. So human training has to be taken very, very seriously. Old style of security awareness training, where you have a list of or a bunch of presentations and PDFs followed by 20 odd questions, that is no longer going to be sufficient. And that is one area which organizations need to look into. And one more, and the last but not the least, the important part is what is happening outside of our organizations. Something that we can also call as brand protection. So every second day, I receive emails from well-known companies, or at least what they look like coming from well-known companies like Amazon or Netflix, that, hey, unless you click on the link below, your account will get frozen, or something like that. There are tools available in market which can inform organizations that their brand is being misused, and it has to be put a stop to. So that is where I think the GCCs and any other organization needs to make an investment.
Maybe Tabish, you can come in a little bit on how, because Venki spoke about education, learning and development. Are there specific things that GCCs can do in terms of enhancing cybersecurity awareness amongst employees? How to train them overall?
Yeah, there are many things, and so we all understand the importance of the human risk element that we have, right? And just to add upon the Forrester data points that Shivi stated, I have two more data points that I wanted to state is that through 2024 IBM data breach cost report stated that around each data breach that had, it's like around $4 million costing to the company, right? And out of this, around 16% of the data breaches were due to credentials, right? I mean, soft credentials which are not, proper. The other 15% were due to phishing, breaches due to them, right? So obviously there are many things that organizations or GCCs can do to improvise in terms of reducing this human error element. And on very basic level, obviously we have the security and awareness trainings that we have. And obviously they like how we did it previously and how we do it now. There's obviously a change in the trends of how things are happening. But it's a good starting point, right? If you have nothing with you, it's a good starting point. Start from there. And what we can do is basically also have some type of gamification to make it more interesting for people. So it will be very surprising when you talk to people about security and try to understand, and you see the amount of knowledge and amount of accountability they feel towards them, right, in terms of security. So many people, many employees feel that security is maybe an IT department's work or XYZ's work, right? They don't believe in the shared responsibility of security, right? And when we have this such type of security trainings, this shared responsibility is basically addressed to everybody and acknowledged with everybody, right? So that's a good starting point to have. The other things that we can do is obviously there are some simulations that you can do. So like I said, phishing is like one of the primary cyber security breaches that happen. So there are services which basically use phishing, which basically send phishing emails and information across to your employees and your people in your organization. So they can basically, you can basically track them, monitor them, how they basically react to this after you have done the security training with them. Very honestly, if people are not meeting these requirements, if they click that even after giving a lot of good training to them, then you have a good data point to start with those individuals or the group of people, right? And reinforce this training once more to them, right? So that's the second level that you can start implementing. The other is obviously there is something new that is happening, which is a human risk identification,
yeah.
right? That is happening at the moment, and what is happening is basically it is a more specific or identified way of doing risk mitigation, right? I mean, this is previously what used to happen or even the security awareness training is basically a blanket approach which you give across. But the human risk management is basically a way in which you basically have a very data-driven approach to individuals and group of people depending upon their behaviors and their roles and responsibilities, right? So this can be even taken further one step, right, to take it across. And last but not least is to keep reinforcing this information to your employees and to your workers repetitively to various channels, emails, SMS, keep them newsletters, just keep them aware of what's happening, keep training them, keep engaging them with security. They have to understand that after software, the first line of defense is obviously the humans themselves, right? So they have to understand that part. And once they have this understanding, I think so things will become really more easy for organizations to handle security breaches in the coming future.
Yeah, we also need to look at the way security training is being imparted. So the old style presentations, etc., are not really going to change human behavior as such. A new emerging way of training is giving micro videos or micro training sessions. So let's say an employee fails a phishing simulation. Instead of receiving a whole new set of presentations, the person receives 1 minute training made in a very amusing manner, something that sticks on the employee's head. And that is what will create the actual change in behavior. So the way we impart trainings is equally important. We are not looking at checking in the box that security training is done. We are actually looking at creating a change in the employee behavior.
To add to that, I think in today's world, it's not just training. I think we do fire drills and everything. I think the need of the hour is to do a security vulnerability drill where you mock a scenario where you had a network incident or something of that sort, or those kind of scenarios, and play those out. Look at business continuity plans and things like that. That is how you are going to be able to reinforce that training that you give and all that. Mock drills are going to be important part.
Very interesting.
I just wanted to highlight one more point,
Sure.
which I just remembered. is also create a culture of where you reward reporting, right? I mean, this is very important. If you don't create a culture where you reward reporting and identification of security breaches, it's a loss for you all, right? I mean, for GCCs, because the more time you give for a breach to, the more, ramifications it has right down the line, right? So please reward, reporting and have a good incident management system in place. That really helps a lot.
Yeah, I think all that you have combined said, right? We are talking about just pulling a plug for Blackhawk. We are one of the largest gift card processing companies in the world, and we know exactly how important cybersecurity is. In the next few months, we are going into the holiday season, and we are going to see a deluge of cybersecurity threats coming in the form of spoof site frauds and the tampered cards. And this is where all of that training is inside and out with our partners, with our end consumers becomes so important, right? I can totally relate to so many of the things that you have said, and I'm also taking notes on some of the things that we can go back and do. That sort of let's move on to the next topic. My question to Venki is, how are GCCs kind of utilizing data insights to sort of drive actionable insights, whether it is for business, whether it is for operations? From your experience, what are GCCs doing?
Absolutely. We are a data company. We are one of the largest data company in terms of company profiles and personal data. So obviously every decision, at least in my present company, is all taken based on data. So again, I want to split this answer into two parts from it. One is, how do we use data to do any strategic decisions? It could be road mapping, it could be projection of revenue, whatever, right, being a public company. And the second part is looking at the tools itself. I'll take the second part first. I think what has been happening in my company, at least in the last 6 months to 10 months, maybe years, we are doing a survey of what all departments are using what type of AI and AI tools, right? We spoke about like, hey, CSM, CX, go-to-market. What type of AI tools do you use? Do you use chatbots? What type of AI agents are you using or planning to use? So I think that's giving a lot of idea into where we lag in one way and where there is cross collaboration. Hey, use a similar chatbot on the HR side. Can I use on, for example, on my go-to-market sales side or SDR side or a marketing side, right? So I think that is happening a lot. I would say survey of the State of the Union, what departments are using, what level of AI, and how that's helping or not. And then you stop, in a way, proliferation of tools, right? Because when we did the survey, it's not only the AI agents or tools, but also what other types of tools our departments, various departments are using. So we see a lot of synergy that comes out. If there is a similar tool across HR, talent acquisition, and so on, can we merge or reduce these tools? So I think one of the things that's happening is review of the tools, review of your AI roadmap, and it's no more that only engineering, for example, a coding on a GitHub Copilot or so on. What are other teams, including teams like, I spoke about AR and APs, and who talk to customers to collect revenue or debt reduction and so on. How much of those departments are using AI also? That's one part that I see a lot more happening, which is part of the strategy, where how do we adopt these new tools efficiently to bring down or make my productivity better, right? Coming back to the first point, absolutely yes. I think all the tools that we have, it could be dashboarding or some of the AI agents or prediction tools in terms of what's going to happen, right? That's absolutely used based on the collection of data and the feedback from the customers and the CX, CSM teams and from all the other, what we call as a third-party data coming from industries and our competition analysis. How can we tune our roadmaps? How can we tune our projection? And also coming back to the skilling part again, right? What is the industry looking at in forward? Are we there in terms of our analysis of our talent in our company? Are we lagging at some point, right? Is my 60% of my team, to again Sabah's point, is it trained on AI or cloud tools, or more is needed, right? So it's, I would say, an end-to-end. One part is looking at just purely on my road mapping or my headcount projection or my growth side as a strategy for looking at data and data analytics. But the second part is looking at tools that will help on my productivity side. I think that's going to be I would say, according to me, that's going to be the tune for the next year or so, where how these tools are going to get in every part of my organization and make my team more and more efficient, right? I think that's what I'm saying.
I'm going to throw this question to any of you can take it. Some of what you said, and I want to sort of go one level deeper into it. Are any of these programs started in India and then expands to the rest of let's say the global headquarter kind of adopts it? Because when we talk about GCCs, it's very important. The perception generally is that there's a mothership and we are taking command from the mothership always. But there are plenty of examples where we are forming sort of programs, we are driving initiatives that are then adopted across all centers, across the headquarters. Do any of you have any examples, including Venki, or somebody can take that really quickly?
I can go first.
Sure.
Yes,
sure.
yes, absolutely yes. We are pretty new in that area, so I would say a lot more to come, Romit. But in my previous org, similar story, and here too, right? Some of the things where at least we are concentrating is bringing the value across departments. So what we started as one of the, I would say a small hackathon that became a big one later, where this cross-collaboration ideas, I spoke about bringing the feedback from the CSM into the product roadmap and making sure that that's in a way getting into your final customer back, right? So I think that's one of the things I've seen a lot more value. And the next one that we are working on, and I talk about the finance side, right? Because as a SaaS company, the biggest challenge is obviously net retention. So how do we then bring value across these multiple departments, CSM, CX, go-to-market, and then the finance side, right, the AR, AP, and so on. How do you bring that together using tools? And the last but not the least, what we are bringing up from India is bringing the marketing and sales teams together. The funnel, the inputs that's coming from the marketing, how do you integrate very efficient with the sales? These are the three areas using all the AI agents and tools that we spoke about. But I would say the fruit of the result that's mostly on the hackathon that I spoke about.
Awesome.
For me, it was not about the tools, but more about, say, hiring practices. See, when I started my previous GCC, I had to hire 100 people in 8 or 9 months. And that's a kind of scale that nobody in my headquarters had handled. So, so the recruiting practices that we implemented were then adopted by our head office.
Amazing point. I think that's something I always talk to GCC leaders, and if you want to be truly seen as a seat for real innovation, I think that's what we have to do. We got to create value here, which kind of spreads to the rest of the world. I see the time ticking away, so we have to get to the next topic very, very quickly, which is the flavor of the sort of times we live in. Is talking about how GCCs are integrating AI and machine learning into their operations to drive innovation, right? And I'll let Kaustubh take a big share of that question and try and.
So just to kind of set the context, right? Gartner has a report that says 30% of the Gen AI projects that are there today, by 2025, they'll all bite the dust, right? 30%, that's a big number. For reasons of, poor data quality, risk around that, or excessive cost, or not realizing business value. So that's one end of the spectrum. On the other hand, we have JP Morgan kind of indicating that they've kind of incorporated LLM in their enterprise, and the research reports and all are being generated by the LLM, and they're training all their new workforce to be able to make use of this, right? So while there is this AI data kind of a thing in terms of facts, in terms of where things are, this is going to kind of transform the entire world that we live in, right? And so the question for GCCs and all corporations is to figure out what is going to be our AI strategy for years to come. And that starts with, first, what is your company policy? What's your local policy on how do you want to adopt AI? That would be the first place to start. The second thing is, there is going to be transformation in every aspect of your business. The thing that you don't want to do is focus on this in pockets and silos. And so GCCs have to figure out, how do you take this to the next level? Is your tech stack across all parts of your business ready for Gen AI? Which means that, do you have a common way of having models available? Do you have your tech stack that can plug in various models, right? There are large language models now, there are different small language models. You have different ones from, from Google, from Meta, and so forth, right? OpenAI and all. Do you have the ability to plug and play those models, right? Those things are going to be important part. And as an organization, across all parts of your business, ready for Gen AI, which means that do you have a common way of having models available? Do you have your tech stack that can plug in various models, right? There are, large language models now. There are different small language models. You have different ones from, from Google, from Meta, and so forth, right? OpenAI and all. Do you have the ability to plug and play those models, right? Those things are going to be important part. And as an organization, you have to be able to kind of have a template for, do you want to build it in-house or you want to buy? So what's your template for a build versus buy decision? And so these are the things that would be, important aspects of how do you go about your Gen AI or just AI ML journey in corporation transformation in your GCC.
You want to comment a little bit on the challenges of implementing?
Yeah, so for me, definitely, with Gen AI, definitely I see cost as one of the challenges. So one of my friends, he is the CEO of a organization that provides online ticketing system. He implemented Gen AI for the customer experience part, the chatbot. And while the customer satisfaction went up, so did the costs. So same thing we are seeing even in, say, software development organizations with co-pilots and all. How do we even justify that the productivity of developers has gone up and for all other knowledge workers as well? And can we really measure the ROI on investment on these technologies?
I think the important challenge that I see that GCCs are facing is how to move away from POC stage to productionizing all your AI solutions. Not only generative AI solutions, it's even the AI solution is still struggling. Companies want to invest, they are investing. In fact, we saw a lot of statistics that the earlier speaker had shown from LinkedIn as to how much has the investment gone into these AI solutions, developing them. But they want to optimize it. Obviously, cost hits, like Shivi mentioned, it's going to hit huge time. So they have to be cost efficient, they have to show efficiency. The thing that they are probably struggling most is moving away from the POC stage. You have done that in pockets. There is no enterprise level strategy. Again, strategic planning is the first thing which comes in. Like, do you have an AI strategy, like Kaustubh mentioned, at an enterprise level, which touches all your functions, all your departments, and all the human beings which are working there? In order to do this, they have to have a clear ROI validation framework. I can give you a quick example. There are 5 stages to this. How is your POC affecting the targeted audience is the first impact that you check. The second one is what is the learning that you have from there and how you can scale it up to your actual solutions. And third one is the implementation part, where the architecture has to come together, because AI cannot stand alone and say that I've solved a problem. It has to be part of the technology stack. It has to be part of the architectural diagrams that you bring in. And the fourth one is mostly to do with the business impact. How much is the impact? Like Shivi mentioned, the cost is eating up. Customer's experience is one side, but if you're not able to control your cost, you're going downhill, right? Mm-hmm. And the last but not the least is the ROI itself. Over a period of 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, how much is your ROI projected, and is it really worth doing the solution using AI or not? So that becomes a huge, all these are, I would not call roadblocks, but these are the things that has to be considered before you move on to the productionizing stage. But it is essential for you to move faster, otherwise whatever investment that you have already done in your POCs, that goes down the drain. So being cautious about how soon can you productionize these. Other than these, there are other considerations as well, like your regulatory requirements, your data, whether the data is suitable or not, whether the model is suitable or not. Is there a way to analyze the model itself? All those things will follow.
So the applicability and the sort of how relevant the data is obviously important. Productionizing is important. I don't want to end this conversation without talking about ethical AI and how do we build ethical AI practices and solutions. Can you talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I'll go with power of three. I know our time is also up. Power of three, the first one that people have to consider, organizations have to consider, is to recognize and acknowledge the risks that we have. There are 5 types of risks predominantly which are around. First one is your reputational and sustainability risk, whether your solution is actually going to help you hold your head high or not, whether it's a sustainable solution or not. And the second one is more to do with the operational and technology risks. Most of us understand, we are coming from that background, we understand how much risk it can pose. And the third one is the compliance, especially I come from the financial services background. So compliance risk is very, very important. I'm sure other GCCs are also equally giving importance to this. Fourth one is the model risk itself, whether the model that you're picking is going to help you or is it not going to help you. And the last but not the least, so many speakers have already spoken about it, is the information and cybersecurity risk. These are the 5 risks that you have to recognize and acknowledge. The second thing that you have to do as an enterprise level responsible AI governance framework. This has to be a standardized. A lot of organizations, a lot of countries, they have started working towards this. The most latest one, as you all might already know, is the EU AI Act, which has come into play, which will take effect immediately whichever business is working as a EU as a demographic, they will have to follow this. Other than this, there is HKMA, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, Singapore MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore. India, we have DPDPR, and then you have GDPR, which all of these are helping us to formulate our own strategy, our own framework. The simplest framework that I've seen, which worked for a lot of them, which covers everything, is FEAT, which is FEAT. F stands for fairness, bias, ethics. Your E stands for your explainability. A stands for your accountability, and T stands for your transparency. All these things should be part of it. The last but not the least is your governance forum itself. How would you decide which AI solution can go live? How would you monitor it? How would you take care of it? Who is responsible to take care of the ethics part of it? That has to come through the governance forum itself. Again, here you have to recognize it, you have to document it, create an inventory, all your AI solutions. Then comes the materiality, whether it is low, medium or high, how impactful is it going to be, how much of the population is going to get affected. And then next comes your forum itself. Apart from the nitty-gritties that the regulators ask you to check, once you check them, the forum or the council itself, which will contain all your functions, business heads, HR, legal, audit, these are the people who will be part of these forum and help you decide whether you can move forward in an ethical and responsible way or not. Apart from all these things, when you go live, that doesn't stop there, because you have to continuously monitor what your AI is doing, because it cannot happen without human in the loop. I'll stop at that.
Thank you, Vidya. I know we are running against the clock, and thanks everybody for your sort of commentary on a wide array of topics that we covered today. I'm told we have probably room for 1 or 2 audience questions, so if anybody wants to ask a question to our panel, feel free to raise your hand, introduce yourself and quickly go for it.
One question.
Hi, this is Rajat here from MidAxel. So we talked about ethical AI and you mentioned compliance over there. Is there anything that the companies can do or are already doing to go beyond compliance in terms of using AI ethically, or the data that we get, using it ethically beyond the compliance and regulations?
See, that is where the FEAT principle will help you, right? Whether your model or whatever you are building, the entire AI solution, is it fair? Is it excluding a set of people? Is it biased towards a particular category of people, say from a particular demographic? Or you're categorizing, you're not including them at all, right? All those things have to be taken care of, and that comes under your principle itself. So when you follow these fairness, bias and ethics, the criteria, understand whether your data, right from the data sourcing, developing, deploying, everything, at every point you have to follow these principles. It is beyond your compliance. That's not even, compliance does not expect you to you are right, it's very limited. But when you go beyond this, considering the human impact of the solution, I think that's where you can stand apart.
Thank you so much. Great talk.
GCC Workplace Awards 2024, presenting partner LinkedIn, co-presenting partner Alive Health, initiative by Zyoin Group, in association with Brigade Group and Adrenaline, powered by WeWork, banking partner Axis Bank, knowledge partner CBRE, strategic partner KDEM, GCC partner Thalaron Global, gifting partner Chiari,